All right, you guys, so let's go ahead and get started here with example 1 on lesson 5.8. And in this case, we're going to go ahead and focus on solving this quadratic equation by taking the square root. And once we're done with this, we are going to be showing our steps. So starting off in this case, guys, once again, they're asking us to create a list of steps in order that will solve the equation. And we do have 1/2 times x plus 5 squared plus 2 equals 42.5. So once again, guys, if we want to go ahead and solve for x here, we do want to go ahead and focus on everything that's on the outside of the parentheses. So we do have, in this case, 1/2, the squared, and the plus 2. So in this case, guys, whenever we have these expressions, preferably for us, it's better for us to move anything that is being added or subtracted, just so it could be simpler for us at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and actually move the 2 in this case. And I'm going to go ahead and subtract 2 to both sides. Once again, I do draw a line just to have a point of reference there. And that gives me 1/2 times x plus 5 squared equals, in this case, 42.5 minus 2 is going to give us 40.5. All right. So next step in this case, guys, we do have the 1/2 and the square root. So before actually doing the square root, we want to go ahead and get rid of this 1/2. Now we do have a fraction, like I said, in this case, guys, and in order for us to get rid of the fraction, we're actually going to multiply by the reciprocal. Reciprocal in this case, guys, just talks about flipping the fraction. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply in this case both sides by the reciprocal of 1/2, which in this case is going to be 2/1 or just 2. So multiply 2 there and 2 here. 2 times a 1/2 in this case, guys, will actually cancel it out, leaving us with x plus 5 squared equal to 40.5 times 2 is actually going to give us 81. And if we want to go ahead and check that, guys, we could actually take out our calculator here. And once again, 40.5 times 2, times 2 is going to give us 81. So from there, guys, we multiplied by 2. Our next step in this case is to get rid of the squared. So in order for us to get rid of the squared, we're going to go ahead and take the square root on both sides. When we take the square root in this case, guys, it will be eliminating the squared and the square root. So we're left with x plus 5 equals square root of 81 in this case, guys, will be 9. But since we're taking the square root in an equation, it's going to be a positive or negative 9. All right. Next step in this case, guys, is to subtract 5. Because once again, goal is to leave the epsilon. And in this case, we have x equals -5 plus or minus 9. All right. Now, from here, guys, we do want to go ahead and create 2 separate equations because we do have 2 different numbers here. We have a positive and a negative 9. So first one in this case, guys, is going to be x equals -5 plus a 9. And x equals -5 minus a 9. And whatever we get in this case from there is actually going to be our x values. So x in this case equals -5 plus 9 is 4. And -5 minus 9 is -14. So that there, guys, is our solution. Now I am going to be going back and writing our steps. So in this case, guys, our first step in this case, this is going to be step 1 down here, because we're actually seeing how we go from our first process to the second one. So first thing we did here to go from here to there is we went ahead and we subtract 2. So that was my first step. All right. Now step 2 in this case is how do we go from here to there? And what we eliminated here is we actually got rid of the fraction, which we did that by multiplying by 2. So step 2 is multiply by 2. All right. Step 3 in this case, to go from here to there, we took the square root. All right. And in this case, guys, step 4 is to subtract 5. All right, and final step in this case, guys, would be to get our answers. Okay, so once again, those were the steps in order for us to solve the equation. Let's go ahead and take a look at this one, guys. Once again, we're doing the same process here. So goal in this case is to solve for x. And we do have a 5 times x minus a 3 squared plus 4 equals 129. Once again, goal is to move everything that's on the outside of the parentheses. So I'm going to go ahead and first move the 4 by subtracting it to both sides. That's going to give us 5 times x minus a 3 squared equals 129 minus 4 is 125. All right. Next step in this case, guys, is we want to go ahead and get rid of this 5. Now, in this case, this between the 5 and the parentheses, it is being multiplied. So in order for us to get rid of the 5, we're going to go ahead and do the opposite and divide both sides by 5. Okay. Doing that, in this case, the 5 and the 5 are actually going to cancel. And we have x minus 3 squared equals 125 divided by 5 is 25, I believe. Let's go ahead and check. Could be wrong. And it is 25. All right. Next step in this case, guys, is to get rid of that square root. So in order for, no, that's squared. So in order to get rid of it, we're going to go ahead and take the square root. This cancels out the squared and the square root, and we're left with x minus 3 equals a plus or minus 5. Once again, guys, every time we take the square root in the equation, there should be 2 solutions, a positive and a negative. Next step is to get rid of the 3. So I'm going to go ahead and add 3 to both sides. And we have x equals 3 plus or minus 5. Now, once we get to this point, we obviously have to break this apart into 2 separate equations. Where in this case, the only thing that changes is going to be the 5, because that one's the one that has 2 different signs. So we have 3 plus a 5, and x equals 3 minus a 5. So 3 plus 5 in this case, guys, is going to be 8, and 3 minus 5 is going to be negative 2. So these 2 here are our solutions. All right, now let's go ahead and write our steps. So step 1 in this case, guys. Step 1, we subtract 4. All right. Step 2, we're going to go ahead and divide both sides by 5. Divide by 5. Next step in this case, what we did here is we're going to go ahead and take the square root. And in this case, our final step in this case, guys, would be in step 4 to add 3. All right. So those would be my steps in order for us to solve for x.